Andy Scott, football editor at AFP, French football sage. Welcome.
How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Not too bad, thank you. Ça va bien, merci.
There you go. I couldn't put it any better myself.
Perfect. So let's get into it. Let's chat Leny Yoro, one of the potentially the bright spot of United's season. Last season is one of the great hopes for the future. Is in that international action this week for France under-21s and a 3-0 win against Serbia. He played 45 minutes and came off. How is he seen over there? Is he outgrowing that level?
Well, it's an interesting one because obviously he's still very raw. If I'm not mistaken, he doesn't turn 20 until November. Yep. So in a way, this is, ordinarily a player of his age, he would be doing very well to already be in the under-21 team at his age. You're right, because he was so precocious coming through at Lille when he was still 16 and then, had a fantastic season 2 years ago where he played nearly every game, got the move to United. So I think when that happened, maybe some people thought that he wouldn't be too far away from being called up straight into the full French national team. Things have kind of stalled a little bit because of his fitness problems, I think, in his first season. If I'm not mistaken, that had a big impact on him. Yeah. But now, so he actually didn't play for the under-21s for quite a long time before coming back in. He wasn't involved at the under-21 Euro in June in Slovakia. I think I'm right in saying that was a decision taken because the clubs were not obliged to release players for that competition. Quite a lot of leading French players, as would have been the case for other countries involved in that competition, didn't have, were not there. They were not released by the clubs because they were not obliged to. And in his case, he didn't play. He's now been brought back in. I think the feeling now is that this can be the chance for him to establish himself in under-21 team with the objective, the objective being the next under-21 Euro, and he can be a pillar in that side. I believe he started the game alongside Nathan Zeze, who is another very talented young defender who's just moved to Saudi Arabia from Nantes, and therefore Zeze has kind of dominated the headlines in a relative sense. This being the under-21 team, obviously the level of coverage is much lower than it is for the full team who are playing at the same time, but this young kid called Nathan Zeze has decided to leave France to go straight to Saudi Arabia, which has raised a lot of eyebrows. So a lot of talk has been about him rather than Leny Yoro, if you like. So he come into this game. He's played, as you say, half the game. It's only a friendly match. I think I would be interested to know if that was probably agreed in advance between club and country, because the number of games players are playing, you want to be careful with how many minutes they play, especially ones who've maybe had fragile fitness issues and all the rest of it. So he's played half the game. France won the game quite comfortably. It's very positive from that point of view. And I think we're going to see him now establishing himself in under-21 team, and probably with the outlook being beyond the World Cup, coming into the full national team setup when we imagine Zinedine Zidane will be taking over from Didier Deschamps' coach, might look to bring in some new players. It's hard to see him now breaking into the full team between now and the World Cup. I think that's very hard to imagine. I mean, the France team that played last night against Iceland, we're sitting here talking, this was 24 hours ago, the match against Iceland. They had Konate of Liverpool and Dayo Upamecano of Bayern Munich playing together in central defence. I think they have enough options in central defence to maybe not need to bring Leny Yoro in yet. But having said that, he's playing for United, he's playing for a huge club in the Premier League. If he has an exceptional season, if there are one or two injuries along the way, who knows? It's not beyond the realms of possibility that he could break into the full side. He's young, but there are young players in that French squad, so it could happen.
Just to go back, you mentioned his kind of breakthrough season at Lille. I mean, 16 is young to get into any first team, but at centre back, it is particularly young, isn't it? What was he exceptional at that stage, or was that kind of typical of what was going on at Lille?
Absolutely exceptional. Yeah, I mean, you don't break into any team and play as a centre back in say what you want about the French league, but it is among the best leagues in the world. It might not be on the same level as the Premier League, but it's among the best leagues in the world. And he has come into that team, as you say, he was still 16, and within a year he was established as a regular starter in the side. And then he had the season 23-24, if I'm not mistaken, 2 seasons ago, where he was never out of the team. So he was given the chance, he was brought in, and he immediately made a big enough impression to be part of the first team picture. As you say, very young. The context of that, of course, is that the French league has a reputation for bringing through young players early. Often they will move on. The league rebranded itself about 7 or 8 years ago, calling itself, say what you want about the branding name, but the League of Talents. Yeah. This idea that come and watch our league because we will be the next big thing you're going to see is going to be playing in our league now before he moves to wherever you are. And there are plenty of examples of that. I mean, just over the last 10 years, Ousmane Dembele, for example, started at Rennes, went to Dortmund, then Barcelona, now back to PSG. Kylian Mbappe, we all know about him. Plenty of other ones. You think actually since Leny Yoro came through at Lille, we've seen another player called Ayoub Bouadi, who's a midfielder of incredible potential, who I think I'm right in saying played alongside Yoro for the France Under-21 team this week, who on his 17th birthday at the beginning of last season practically dominated the midfield against Real Madrid in the Champions League game, which gives you an idea of the context in which Leny Yoro came through at Lille, a club who have this ability to develop young players in a country which has an incredible ability to develop young players. The French coaching system is exceptional. The way in which it's so well organized, so well drilled, these young players are coming through. And France keep on producing these outstanding young players. He is part of that. He had a fantastic season 2 seasons ago, which got him the move to United. I mean, he had just turned 18 when I was actually in Lille commentating a match between Lille and Paris Saint-Germain, which finished in a 1-1 draw. And, you say this and it sounds flippant or something. He had Mbappe in his pocket, and he was 18. He was outstanding. And I had obviously heard a lot about Leny Yoro in the sort of 18 months up to that point. I'd covered games in which he was playing. But that was the day when it dawned on me that this kid is a special player, because he just turned 18 and he was able to marshal arguably the best striker in the world without too much difficulty. And Lille got a draw in that game. He was really superb. So an incredible talent coming through, establishing himself that young. If he carries on like this, he's going to have a remarkable career.
You talk about kind of the heritage in French football of producing young talents. I mean, if you look at where that talent is concentrated, the centre-backs that have come through, the history of French centre-backs, the recent history, I suppose, Blanc, Varane, Desailly, Thuram. It's incredible, isn't it? That those just those four should come from one country. Is he seen? Obviously, it's daft to sort of say, is he seen like he's on that pathway? But I guess that is the question: is he on that pathway, or is he seen to be on that pathway?
I get the impression that Leny Yoro is, I don't want to say he's on the back burner, but I think there's not too much attention being placed on him right now because, United are maybe not at the level they would like to be, if we can put it that way. So he's not playing for a team who are flying at the top of the Premier League and the Champions League. He's playing regularly in the Premier League, which is recognized, which the following for the Premier League, I think it's maybe worth highlighting in France, is huge. People watch it. People watch the games of the biggest teams. His games are followed. His performances are being followed. But you don't get this idea that there is an expectation that he needs to be in the France team yet. But you are right. The tradition, the heritage of French centre backs is so rich. I mean, when you said that, the first name that came into my mind was Raphael Varane, who obviously was part of the team in the last 2 World Cups, which won it and then got to the final, and who quit very early, and who came through so young, like Leny Yoro did. I mean, he was at Lens, which is the local rival of Lille. That's where he made his name, and then he got moved to Real Madrid. So similar kind of trajectory in the early stages of his career, like playing a little bit for his club in France, then getting the move. And you think about the potential similarities between them, and the opportunity might be for him to follow in those footsteps. Like I say, I think that I'm not sure that I see anyone in the current France team playing in central defence who might end up leaving that kind of legacy.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think, and I do think that there is going to be a chance for Leny Yoro, as I say, maybe the World Cup is coming too soon. But I think that going forward, this is a guy who people would probably agree is likely to be certainly in the squad and potentially going to be establishing himself as a mainstay in that French national team for years to come, because he is so young now. You know, you're looking at a guy who could he might not play at the next World Cup, he might play at 3 or 4 World Cups after it. So the opportunity is there for him to really establish himself in that role.
Great news. Andy, that's fantastic. Thanks so much for your time, mate.
Pleasure. Thank you.